Hi, my name is Lena. Welcome to my channel, and let's talk about Henry IV, one of the William Shakespeare's historical plays, which consists of two parts. And Shakespeare made a very interesting decision in this play. We have nobilities, one of the best houses of England, high-born people, and they speak in verse. And we have young Henry, young prince that will become Henry V, and his company, the company he keeps, are rascals, thieves, and basically people you can meet in a tavern, and they speak in prose. And I don't think I have ever read a Shakespearean play made like that. Unfortunately, most of the jokes, most of the references from the lower class part of the play were lost on me, and they were lost even on the translators, people who translated it into Russian. It was so difficult for me to read this part of the play, so that I had to find a translation. But I dropped this idea because all the footnotes for the translated play, they just basically gave me clips from an original play, and they explained why it was difficult to translate. So I dropped it and I continued reading the play in original. So unfortunately, very much was lost on me. Henry IV. Another interesting decision is to name the play Henry IV, because it's actually about young prince, about young Henry. Monmouth, I believe he's called. It's about him and the company he keeps. Henry IV make several appearances, but it's not about him. Nevertheless, Henry IV, he comes after Richard II. And although he himself didn't kill Richard II, but I guess he thought his death like his biggest sin, and it weighed on him, on his conscience, and I think he believed himself that he will pay for it in this life or in afterlife. And according to Shakespeare, even Henry V, young Henry, felt like that. I believe he prayed before a big battle for death of Richard II, not to be avenged on him and his army. So Henry IV, his mind is not at rest about this event, about the death of Richard II. And I'm not sure what he wanted to do. I think I had an idea that he wanted to go on a crusade, but he probably wanted to go to Jerusalem. Sorry, guys. But he couldn't do that because England was in constant unrest with Welsh people and Scottish people and probably Irish people, so he couldn't do it. He couldn't move his army somewhere else. And for me, this play, both parts of it, are about king's favor and losing it and wanting it and not finding it. In first part, people who actually put Henry IV on the throne of England, they feel like they are losing the king's favor, that they are not getting this king's favor that they are due for everything they've done for him. But they are part of this unfortunate event, the death of Richard II for Henry IV, I guess. And he probably shifts some blame on them, so they are losing king's favor. And they rebel. And at the end of this first part, we have a big battle in which another Henry, Henry Percy, dies. This valiant warrior and a hero. So he dies. And the second part, it's more about Falstaff and the favor and him being young Henry's favorite. Lukas very talked about Falstaff and about his life philosophy in great detail, and it was very interesting. But Lukas studied philosophy. Well, he studied the history of psychology, but I believe he said that in the very beginning, the history of psychology was actually philosophy, the history of philosophy. So he read philosophy, and that's what he saw in Falstaff, and it's very interesting. I advise you to go and watch his video, but I believe you have already done so. So that's not what I saw in Falstaff. I saw a crook who used his influence on the young prince to get money, because he lived, he could not afford the way of life he lives. So he constantly needed money, and he used his influence on young Henry. And I saw the person who was taking bribes from new recruits so that they wouldn't have to go with the army and to fight for their king. He was taking bribes, and he was, of course, hoping that when young Henry will be crowned Henry V, Falstaff will be in constant favor of Henry V, and he will be in perfect position to take much larger bribes, and he will be influencing Henry, and he will be influencing the politics of England, and he will be selling probably commissions. He will be lobbying some projects, some other people's interests. So he was very hopeful about his future. He thought that he will be in constant favor with Henry V. And it didn't happen. When young Henry is crowned Henry V, he leaves his friends. Shakespeare gives us to understand that Henry is ready to support his friends, is ready to give them money probably if they stop living the way they lived, if they stop thieving and drinking themselves into stupor. But I'm not sure that they themselves understood it. So I was very surprised how hard Falstaff took it. And we know that in Henry V he actually dies from a broken heart. But I was very surprised how bad. He took it as a betrayal. I like the play, I will probably read it. But this time around I will start with Richard II and then we'll read Henry IV. Probably historical plays by William Shakespeare are meant to read in order. Thank you for watching, goodbye and happy reading.